welcome to another vlog. I'm feeling very sleepy. How's everyone doing? I hope you're well. If you're new here, welcome in. My name's Charlotte. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. I put today aside for a reading vlog, one that I'm really looking forward to filming. I haven't done a reading vlog, I think, since like late summer, early autumn. I could be wrong, but it feels like I haven't done one in forever. And I thought, you know, this would be a good reading vlog. I've got some bookish stuff to talk about. I've got a book haul to show you from a couple of weeks ago. So I just figured we could spend the day doing some bookish stuff together, and that would be really nice. This happened last time I filmed a bookish vlog, and obviously, like, I love the sunshine. I want the sunshine, but when my only plans are to stay in and rot and read books, it's literally like the most beautiful day we've had all year. Like, there's blazing sunshine, blue sky. It's really stunning out. That's the view from my bedroom window, which is absolutely glorious to look at. But look at all that sunshine on the building. My t-shirt is inside out, but it's fine. I decided to wake up quite early for me on a day off anyway. So I woke up about 8ish. I know it's not early in the grand scheme of things, about 7:45. Just because I didn't want to sleep in and like waste the day away. So I thought even if I wake up early and get some reading done, that would be a good start, because there's just something lovely about reading with your coffee in bed in the morning. So that's what I've been doing. Been quite a slow start to the day. It's about 9:30. I've been doing it for about an hour and a half now. What I wanted to try do today is read like a few small books, short books, 100 pages and less, because I have a video plan that's been in my head for ages, and it's small, short, quick books that I would recommend to you. I've had loads of suggestions of ones to read, so I thought today would be a good time to just like bash them out, and then I can maybe do like 3 or 4 today. That's being optimistic. So I started this morning with a reread, which is actually one of my favourites. Let me show you. I started this morning with To Be Devoured by Sarah Tantlinger. This is a horror book. I'm really on a bit of a horror vibe at the moment, but this is one of my favourite books. It's just under 100 pages, or maybe like 110 pages. It's about a woman who becomes obsessed with a swarm of vultures that kind of frequent near her house, and she becomes obsessed with knowing what carrion tastes like and becoming a vulture. I've only read it once. I always say it's one of my favourite books. I remember it really spanned me when I read it the first time, so I'm rereading it to see if it holds up, but I just really enjoy it. It's very dark and twisty. I'm not very far into it. It's been a slow morning for reading. I'm on about page 48. But yeah, I thought I'd get some short books done today, because I'm trying to find like good, short, impactful reads to recommend you. I want to do like a whole standalone video for that. The only thing that's kind of persuaded me to get up was that I'm getting a bit hungry. So I rise out of bed in search of food, and to possibly migrate to the sofa in search of more reading. I decided to get like somewhat dressed and organised. I'm feeling a bit sluggish, probably because I stayed in bed way too long. But I thought a change of shirt, a tiny bit of makeup and some perfume would make me feel better. I'm just waiting to make a cup of tea. I've been doing a Metro crossword. I love wearing perfume in the house. It makes me feel like really cozy and delicious. I just like a good luxurious sensory experience, and I love smelling good. So the perfume I'm wearing today is Jazz Club by Replica. If you saw any of like my birthday vlogs, I got a little Replica discovery set of all the fragrances for my birthday from one of my friends. So I've been slowly trying them out. A lot of them, I'd say most of them, are very springy and summery and quite light, which isn't my usual thing. So I'm still on the heavier ones, but yeah, I do like Jazz Club. When I got the full-size bottle, it was a toss-up between Jazz Club or By the Fireplace. And wearing Jazz Club now, I definitely think I made the right choice in getting By the Fireplace, but Jazz Club is a nice alternative. It smells a bit more like powdery and leathery to me, and a bit more like cigarette-y. Kind of like, you know, like leather booth seats or car seats when they start to peel. That's what it's reminding me of, like kind of oily almost, in a good way. That's quite niche. Anyway, this is all really boring. By the way, this is so unsightly, but I feel like really self-conscious of it. I've got like a huge ulcer. Like, I'm not going to show you too much. Look away now. It's like really bad, and it's right where my teeth touch my lips, so it really hurts. It's been like really sore for like 3 days. Like, it's making eating really miserable as well, and I feel like you can see it when I talk. And I wasn't going to film, but I have so much to film this weekend, and I just feel like really embarrassed that you can see it. And I was like, I'm not going to try and put lipstick on it and like cover it up and make it worse. So yeah, if you see it, it's not cold sore, it's an ulcer. I know it's there. I don't need suggestions. I've been like putting stuff on it. I just think it's really ugly. Do you know what? It's because I quit smoking like properly. That's also really embarrassing. A week or 2 ago, and since I've quit, I've been getting so many ulcers in my mouth, and obviously that's just like a common thing. That's what happens. But I had one on that side last week that wasn't as bad as this one, but it was in exactly the same spot on the other side, and now I've got the other one. So, or why am I being punished for doing a good thing? But yeah, if you just see that, just please ignore it. This is really just like rambly so far. Let me get my cup of tea and then I'll tell you about the book I finished last night. So last night I finished The Lamb by Lucy Rose, which I said is like much anticipated, much hyped. I didn't really know much about her as an author and I didn't realise quite how hyped the book was, and then I posted it on my story. And I honestly had about 15 to 20 messages of people saying, let me know your thoughts, can't wait to see what you think of this, like I love this, it's my favourite book, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. But anyway, if you're not familiar with The Lamb, it's a horror novel that kind of explores love through metaphors of cannibalism. And when we say love, we mean like love between mother and daughter, sapphic love. There's this theme of like womanhood and girlhood and having to like suppress yourself. It's a very instinctual feeling kind of book. When I say the metaphor of cannibalism, I mean like a lot of cannibalism. It's cannibalism like in its most obvious form. Margot, who's a young girl, lives with her mother in an isolated like rural part of the forest, and they kind of attract strays together. They prefer not to like delve into society for their food and their needs, so they lure people back to their cabin. Highly anticipated, highly reviewed, rave reviews, and yeah, I don't know really what my thoughts were on it. I still feel perhaps I need a little bit more time to discern my true thoughts, and I mean the review will be up by the time this video is up because I need to film and edit and post my February reading wrap up, so that will be included in that, so you can probably track back through my videos and find that. I don't think it was bad, and I think it was a good debut novel, but the number of rave reviews just doesn't resonate with my reading experience of it necessarily. I think because we are such in this era of like cannibalism as a metaphor being a trend, and like weird girl fit, hungry women being a trend. Obviously, I say trend, I don't mean that in like a disparaging way. Like I love a lot of those kinds of books, but there is kind of a more vast quantity of them now than there was like 1 or 2 years ago. I think it just was obvious what it was trying to do, and obvious doesn't necessarily mean bad. As always, take my reviews with a pinch of salt. So my immediate thoughts was, is this book actually good or is it just shocking? I know I've said this about a lot of books now, so it's kind of beginning to seem like I don't like shocking books, but I think when you write a book that's so shocking, it is harder for readers to pull apart whether they think it's a good book or whether they were just kind of like moved by its content. Two things can exist at once. A book can be shocking and can be good. A book can be shocking, you can enjoy it and it still not be good, etc, etc. I don't need to explain all of this, but I said cannibalism / hunger as a metaphor for love is so trendy right now, so maybe I'm bored of it. Slightly repetitive, slightly clumsy, especially in the middle, could have been shorter. Never want to read the word mama again. Ending was good, made me hungry. It did make me very hungry, not in like a human flesh way, but in like a I wanted a pie kind of way. I think one thing that spun me out is that it wasn't immediately obvious where it was set, and having done some research, it's set in Cumbria, which I just thought was so random. To me, it read like almost American Southern, and maybe that's me being quite US centric in my horror writing because I have read a lot of US based horror books at the moment, but I think it wasn't immediately clear that this book was English. Maybe it's because I don't equate mama or mama, M-A-M-A, with like an English type of endearment. And I think the combination of like school bus, obviously I know school buses exist in the UK, but there was no definitive factors for me that kind of set it in the UK. It's just strange. I do actually think the ending was good. I quite enjoyed that. I didn't really love the beginning, but obviously I liked the beginning enough for it to hook me into reading it. There is a lot of repetition. I think the word mama is just used like far too much. It's obviously because the book is written from the telling point of a child. Our narrator is a child, so I understand that there are certain elements of the narrative style that are like going to be more basic. It makes sense, like the clumsiness, the awkwardness of it. I don't know, the middle just became a lot of like being hungry, sapphic entanglements, just like on repeat. I think the middle section could have had about 100 pages cut out of it. The chapters were so short as well, so maybe that's why it felt like it went on for ages, but the end of each chapter, it felt like she was trying to make it like a mic drop moment. Like there was so much drama at the end of every chapter with that closing statement that it kind of lost its effectiveness for me. I don't know if any of that makes sense. I can see why people enjoyed the book so much, but there are so many rave reviews that I feel like the anomaly in my reading experience of The Lamb. I've made this sound like a really bad book. It's not even like a really bad book. I just didn't like enjoy it as much as I thought I would. Self-conscious about reviewing things in anything less than a positive light, even though I will always give you an honest review. But I think I'm too much of an empath. That's why I probably never write a book. Because I can't take it if someone doesn't like it. I just don't think the book was as good as I thought it would be. Sigh. This is what happens when I don't know what to eat for breakfast and I want something savoury and I want something sweet. I've got soft boiled eggs with a bit of Kewpie mayo, and a bit of French mustard, like the yellow one. French's mustard, sorry, not French mustard. I've got a pickle, I've got 2 slices of cheese and some fruit. I really wanted a cup of miso soup as well, but I've also got a cup of tea on the go, and I thought 2 hot drinks is a bit silly. I'm gonna eat this and I'm gonna read a little bit more. I feel like this is maybe not really the book to read while you're eating, but oh well. It's in the back of my head that I need to go to the library today to return a book. I'm going to try, fingers crossed, to not take anything out because I have a massive pile of books, a massive pile of new books, which I'll go through with you this afternoon. And on the way home, I'm going to stop via Tesco because I wanted to get some lunch. I'm very conscious that I want lunch today and I want like a nice lunch. And you know, when you've got like the fact that you need to go out hanging over you. So I think once I do that and then I can come home and I can like properly relax and read. I'm returning Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I didn't enjoy this as much as I thought I would. I know this is like considered a classic now, and I should have read this I think years and years and years ago. I don't really like dystopian fiction that is very urban or very futuristic, in a sense where it's so futuristic it's like kind of abstract. So the premise of this, if you aren't familiar with it, is that our main protagonist Guy is a fireman, but firemen's jobs aren't to put out fires, it's to destroy books, which have now become illegal in the future. Like the written word and reading books and owning books is an illegal act. He never really has questioned this, and then all of a sudden he becomes in possession of a book and starts to realise that there was a past in which people read and lived happy and fulfilling lives and consumed literature. And from there he starts hiding more and more books in his home. And yeah, it felt like clunky. And I know that that's kind of the point because it's so futuristic, but there was just something about how we were dropped into it. Again, this will be in my February reviews. I kind of wish I hadn't taken this out. It was a bit of a whim. I'm going to try not to get anything else out. I have Odd Spirits by S.T. Gibson. Let me show you. I'd never heard of this actually, and I really like S.T. Gibson's work. I've read 2 of their books now. And this has pictures in it actually, by the way. This is like a graphic-y novel type thing. I think the last book other than this one that I have to read is Evocation by S.T. Gibson, and this is like a prequel, so I'm going to read this first, but I don't have to return this yet and I haven't read it, so I'm going to come back to that. Let me get changed, let me charge my camera, and then we'll head out. I feel so happy because it's like finally sunshiny and it's my day off. Like I booked an extra day off work this week because I thought I want to film, I want to spend a day reading, and now I get to go to the library in the blazing sunshine, and this is my outfit. And it's really cute, and I haven't worn this jacket in ages because it's rained so much. I'm back. It is some unknown amount of time later. There was nothing really that I wanted at the library. There was one book that caught my interest, but I just didn't trust it. It's short stories. I've not had like a great run with short stories lately, so I thought I'd leave it behind today. I got some Bonjela and I got some deodorant and like a few snacks for lunch. I'm going to carry on reading, and I think I'm going to read for like an hour because I'm actually not hungry yet. It's like nearly 1 o'clock. But the world is my oyster today. I can do things all completely at my own pace. I'm on page 63. I'm 43% of the way through the book. It says I've only got about 34 minutes left, so I will check back in when I'm finished. Got to undo my jeans. I feel like I should just get changed, but these actually aren't that uncomfortable. So I finished it. When I say that that is one of my favourite books, I don't really know what that says about me. That was a lot more disgusting than I remember it. That was very, very gruesome. And I think, you know, that's kind of what I was hoping The Lamb would be. And not in the sense that it's disgusting and gruesome, because I do think that level of gore reads the second time round as quite shocking. Like, I was quite surprised that I dubbed that as like one of my favourite books now that I've reread it. Similarly to The Lamb, and similarly to what is trendy at the moment, I guess, is this like notion of an insatiable hunger, this never being full unless you consume what you want to. You know, I Remember to Be Devoured like really shocked me, just from like a plot perspective and like an element of gore. Really disgusting horror. You know, that kind of like yucky, visceral energy. You can feel it. Like, I can feel the sensations. There's a lot of talk about like esophageal stuff and stuff in your belly, and there's also a lot of like being sick. So I think it's just very like here. That is a book that I won't read that often. I've read that for the first time about 3 years ago, I think, and it really stuck with me, and it's always stuck with me since. Yeah, that's definitely gonna go in my video. Someone on TikTok asked if they could have a tour of my bookshelf, which I'm gonna film in 2 seconds, but I thought I'd show you all anyway. And I wanted to see like the whole bookshelf area. And I think potentially if you're new here, you won't have seen this. So I'm gonna film a little TikTok from probably from my regular account, but I will post it on my BookTok account as well. Both those accounts will be linked in my description box if you do wanna have a look at like what's going on over there. But yeah, I thought I'd show you as well, because it has come along quite a way since I moved in, and I don't necessarily know if it like looks better or worse. I still need to hang some stuff on the wall. And like this blue sofa on the edge, we want to get rid of it, but it's like a temporary measure. So this is the whole thing. Let me unscrew you and show you properly. This is like the whole bookshelf area in all its glory. It is like a functioning area. So I'm going to take you from top to bottom. I'm going to talk you through all the trinkets as well. I've got my neon light, which glows pink. That was a gift from Doug a few years ago. I've got my Lego bonsai. I do need to change it over to cherry blossoms as we are getting to spring. And then I just have a pile of random books. These were books that I want to read like fairly recently, but I still haven't gotten them to them yet. Charity Shop Chrome Bud Vase. My watering can, which I use to water my houseplants. A Supreme deck of cards, random, came with a t-shirt I think, and the same with a bouncy ball. And then this is a vase. I just popped it up there because it worked. This is my cast iron pigeon. He's very heavy. I love him so much. And then radish and watermelon sunny angels having a gossip. My cherry jelly cat. And then we begin all of the rainbow order. This is an LED light that's supposed to help plants grow. I think it's just a regular light. It says it was a grow light, but I just don't think it's doing much for them. But it is keeping them alive. We start the rainbow order. It's all a bit higgledy-piggledy. And then we have my Marshall speaker. This is my dead brother's. Best thing he ever left me. He didn't leave it for me. I stole it from his flat. But that's fine. It's mine now. It's great. It fits perfectly in this nook. That was just really too much information, I think. Blue to purple. I'm such a trinket girly. And back here we have a little glass frog that is from Venice. This little skull is from Mexico. This glass vase is from Tiger, and I don't know where that one is from, but I keep water in it sometimes. More ceramics, both from Tiger, I think. I do actually use these, they just fit really well. Strawberry vase, gluggle jug, more books down here. Calathea or alocasia, I always get the two mixed up. She's a plant nonetheless. Pink variegated rubber plant. It doesn't actually live here, by the way. I just put it there for the video. And I have got a video with like my houseplant care in it that was one of my Slow Sunday videos. This massive piece of smoky quartz, really heavy. And then my little IKEA step, which has 2 plants on it and then a massive stack of books. These are the books that I generally read next. Like, these are to be read. There is a fair amount on my shelves already that I haven't read, but I would definitely say I have read more than I haven't on here. But these are like recent TBRs and recent things that I've bought, and like ones that I need to review at the end of the month. This is like a rotation. So recently I've bought a lot of new books. Nearly all of these are new, actually, looking at them. So I will go through them with you in a bit. I'm going to show you my haul. I keep my yoga stuff tucked away. So my mat and my 2 bricks down there. And then these are all just frames and things that I want to put on the wall soon. And then there's my Fatsia. And then yeah, and then that's the whole thing really. I've got like the odd books knocking around like down here. There's books here, but this is where most of them will live. I did go to 66 Books a couple of weekends ago with a friend who'd never been before, and I didn't vlog it just because they've got new rules on filming in there. It was actually a lot busier than the first time I went, and I just wanted to like be in and out. I do have an old 66 book vlog somewhere on my YouTube page that you could probably find if you wanted to, but just it is quite out of date because it's like a year or 2 old. Anyway, I bought actually more books than I thought I was going to, which is great. I went in not wanting to get a lot, but I got got maybe like 11 books or 14 books for £33 or around that, which I think is really, really good value. So for those of you that don't know, 66 Books is actually a trade-only warehouse that's based in Hemel Hempstead, so it's like about 2 hours from me. So they're not open to the public except for 2 weekends a month. The dates are listed on their Facebook and stuff. Don't turn up outside of these times, they will turn you away. But it's when they open the trade-only warehouse to the general public, which means all books are 75% off the retail price. So if we're going based on like the average £9.99 book price point, we're looking at about £3 for books, which is just absolutely amazing. And they have everything. They have coffee table books, they've got non-fiction hardbacks, kids books. I think it's great if you've got like young kids and Christmas presents and stuff like that. They also do a lot of like journals and a lot of merch. So there's loads of like Harry Potter and Game of Thrones merch, and like there was tarot cards, poetry books, like crossword books, as well as like the bog standard fiction books and all of that kind of stuff. But there's like map books. Just think of anything that if you owned a bookshop you would want to stock in there, they do it. So like puzzles and stuff as well. I won't go through too much because obviously there are thousands of vlogs online and on TikTok about 66 Books, but it is very much a working warehouse. It's not organised like a bookshop. Do not go there like I'm going to get this, this and this, because you will be disappointed. But it does mean you have to literally walk up and down every single aisle because it's not organised in the way that a traditional bookshop would be organised, because it's not a traditional bookshop. It's not very accessible either because it's a working warehouse, so like things are stacked up really high. You have to like climb on the little stools they give you. You have to have baskets. The aisles are quite narrow, so that's just something to consider, that it is a little bit overwhelming at points. But I've always gone on a Sunday. It's my second visit and I've never had any problems on a Sunday. I think Saturday's way too busy. I've never really had to queue for longer than 10 minutes. So yeah, I'm gonna dig out what I got and show you because I feel like I got a really good haul. And apologies if you've already seen this on my BookTok, it might be quite boring for you, but I figured a lot of you YouTubers don't have TikTok. So I didn't get this from 66 Books, but I got this in a charity shop the other day, and it's The Sense of an Ending by Julian Barnes. This is always in charity shops, so I don't actually know if it's any good, but I do want to read it. I've heard quite good things about it. My Dark Vanessa, I'm really nervous to read this. It's quite a heavy book and everyone says it's really left an impact on them, and this is the only hardback I got. I'm not in a space to read this at the moment because I'm really looking for like some escapism with my books. I say that like I haven't just read 2 awful horror books. I got On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. Really looking forward to reading that. I got Earthsea, and this contains the first 4 books and it's a very great floppy book. I will say the font is really small, but honestly for the price I'm willing to overlook it. Chronicles of Death Foretold. This is one that I might read today actually. This is by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Really great things about this author I've heard, so this is on my small book list. Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. I recently finished Sharp Objects, so I thought why not? I got Scythe. I have had my eye on this for a really long time and I always forget what it's about, and I could never tell if it's young adult or not, and I posted about it on TikTok and a lot of people said although it is young adult, it's really, really good. The first one is really, really good. The trilogy falls apart a bit. It reassured me because I had no service in the warehouse to check, so I am actually looking forward to reading this. White Teeth by Zadie Smith. I have forgotten your username, but there is one particular person who has followed me for quite a while who has been recommending me this for ages, and I keep saying I'm gonna read it, I'm gonna read it, I'm gonna read it, and then I never did. And I saw this copy of it and the cover is just so beautiful. I want a print of this, and yeah, I'm gonna read it. And I'm so sorry if you've been waiting for me for like 3 years to read this. The font is so friggin' small in this copy, so what I've done is I've downloaded this onto Kindle as well, so I'm gonna switch between the two. The Pearl by John Steinbeck. Really, really wanted to read this. I follow someone called Melissa. Her username is Beware of Pity, and in one of her recent reading vlogs she read this. I really wanted to read it, and I thought I'll wait till I go to 66 Books because they have a lot of classics there. 80 pages if that, so I think this is going to be on my list of things to maybe read today. I say this like it's not nearly 3 p.m, but they're all so short and we're going to go into the evening. I think like I'm not necessarily going to read all of these, but I'm making a list of like short books that I could read today. And then this is a bit rogue, but Gossip Girl, they had the whole series of this. I think it was 3 or 4 books, but I just thought I'd get one. But I thought this might be like a nice little comfort read. You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty. I've always really wanted to read this, and I loved the cover of the hardback especially, but you know me, I'm not really a hardback girl, so I saw this in paperback and I took my opportunity. And then finally Sula by Toni Morrison. I have wanted to read this for a really, really long time, and there is another Bell Hooks book that I've heard is a really good accompaniment to read after you've read this, so I think I'm going to do both of them because I do really like the one bell hooks book I've read. So yeah, that is my pile. I feel like there's something else in there that I've forgotten or missed out, or maybe I've read it already, but no, that must be everything. I'm really pleased with everything I got from there because a lot of it is books that I've actually really wanted to read a long time, and I find that when you go to 66 books, you have to go in with quite low expectation, purely because it's not organised or set up in the way a regular bookshop is. I'm going to pull out some short books from my bookshelf that I think I'm going to try get through today, or at least delve into, and I'll come back and show you my selections. I'm making some lunch because I'm a little bit peckish, and you know, one thing I like cannot stop watching on TikTok is like the Subway mukbangs, and I really desperately want a Subway, and I just thought like, no, I'm not gonna get a Subway, so I got stuff to make Subway instead. From Tesco, I've always looked at these, they look so nice. They're like cheese and herb sub rolls, they're like super soft like Subway bread. And then I got shredded iceberg American cheese, which is like so dirty of me. I've cut up some red onions, I've got pickles, and then I'm gonna do like vegetarian chicken, so I don't eat meat. I got these Richmond vegan style roast chicken slices, which I wouldn't usually buy, but it was a bit of a treat. And then I saw these a few weeks ago and thought this would be perfect. I've never had these, I really hope they're good. They're squeaky bean crispy bacon rashers, like, you know, the ones you get that are already like pre-cooked. I hope they're good. I don't usually like vegetarian bacon that much, or vegan bacon. I find it's okay, it's like good in the moment. I hate the process of frying it and cooking it. It's like stinks so bad. Your hair, your clothes, your house will stink. For me, it's just like not worth it. I don't really like that, and I try not to buy too much like meat replacement stuff. So yeah, I'm making that now, and I'm actually like really excited for it. So I'll show you when it's all assembled. Look, cheese and toasted. I'm having a really good day. Oh my God. I do think it looks like a diabolical amount of mayonnaise, but I promise it's just like a regular amount. This looks so good, I'm gonna cry. Recording myself eat, but the things I do for content. The bread is so soft. My ulcer really hurts, so that's fun too. By the way, that was like literally the best thing I've eaten like all week. I feel incredibly satisfied. I feel like I could have eaten another one, but then I wouldn't have had enough ingredients to have one tomorrow, which is also very sad. So I've got a pile here of very short books, and I have some on my Kindle as well. Basically, like I explained earlier when I was half asleep, I don't know if I did a very good job of explaining it, but I have a bunch of small books, short books, mostly 150 pages and under. The shorter the better, to be honest, that I'm planning to read and like get through and reread, because I'd like to compile a book recommendation list for books that are like 150 pages and less. So on here so far I have Sally Rooney's Mr. Salary, White Nights by Dostoevsky, which I've actually wanted to read for a really, really long time, and Carmilla by Sheridan Le Fanu. I put out a recommendation like question box for these quite a long time ago, like easily nearly a year ago, like April last year I think, and a lot of you suggested Carmilla. And then in this pile here, I think this one's too long, so well, this is under 150 pages, but this one's too long for today. But I have The Sense of an Ending, one of my favourite books, The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman, which I'm going to read. Sula by Toni Morrison, which is 170 pages, so that might be too long to include in the video. The Pearl by John Steinbeck, which I think might be one that I read today. A Chronicle of Death Foretold, which I mentioned earlier. And then Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan, which is very short. So I'm kind of leaning towards these two today. And I think I'm going to start with the Claire Keegan one. And I also am tempted to do Mr. Salary and White Nights, because I've really wanted to read White Nights for a very long time. I'm very conscious that it's also the end of February, and the more short books I add on to my reading count, the more I have to type up the reviews, which I was hoping to do today, but I don't know if I'll manage it. I need to type up my reviews, and we all know that takes me ages. So yeah, I think I'm going to start with this one and we'll see how it goes. First things first, I'm going to make a cup of tea. Everything's really, really messy everywhere. Oh well, that's fine, isn't it? I actually feel really cold and like I want biscuits, like custard cream specifically, but I'm not going back out again, so I'm just going to manage. I think I am going to do some baking later, but I am going to try get, what's the time? Maybe to like 4 PM of reading. It's like 3:20, 3:15ish. So yeah, I'm going to start this. I don't actually really know what it's about, but I know it's set in Ireland. And Irish literature is often beautifully written. Let's crack on. I'll give you some updates as we go along. I'm like 35 pages in and it's making me really sad. I think this might be a sad book. I haven't really researched it. I feel like it has some like hopeful optimism, but it's making me really sad. And I'm really cold as I'm like wrapped up in the blanket, and I've just had my cup of tea and I'm feeling like really, really sleepy. So we'll see where we get to. I'm going to try not to nap because I think it will throw off my whole day if I nap. But yeah, it's nearly 4 o'clock. I'm going to carry on reading, so I'm enjoying this. It's 4:42 p.m. I finished. Wow. I knew it was going to be a wow. Everyone says it's a wow. But just wow. It's so Irish and it's so... I don't know if comforting is the word. Cadence and the tone and the sentence structure and kind of like the mundanity of it and the Irishness of it. I really, really love books set in Ireland. I need to read more of them, and just I can like hear the accent in my head, and there's just something very like cozy and comforting about it to me, and just like the culture of it all. I've never been to Ireland in my life either, but it just feels like so homely. Just like the message of this is so lovely, and it didn't make me cry, and it didn't feel that sad in the end. It felt like hopeful, but the beginning felt like it could be really sad. This feels like, to me, like quietly powerful, and I didn't fall asleep, so there's that too. I think I'm gonna have a little tidy because there's just like books and plates and stuff everywhere, and I need to stretch my legs a little bit, so I'm gonna get up. I say stretch my legs, I mean like walk around the flat. I was gonna do a yoga workout, but I think I'm not gonna. I was like nearly falling asleep. If I do one, I'll do one this evening, but I might not. I might just do one in the morning. Oh, I'm looking a bit like Amish. I've always wanted to meet someone Amish. It's something to do with the headband and the check shirt and the fact that the headband is like so big. Look how big it is. It's like a pirate. Doug says I look like Will Turner at the end of Pirates of the Caribbean. My deep dark secret is that anytime I am not on camera or anytime I'm at home, I am strapped up in this. It's a sensory thing. And do you know what? It's not enough. If I could like wrap my head in the whole thing like this, like a Dominican tubie basically, I would be fine, but it's still like not enough. It's a sensory thing about like having my hair off my face and my neck. Like if I could have it wrapped constantly, I should just get like a bonnet, but a bonnet, like I need it to be like snug. It doesn't do the right thing. It's what keeps me comfortable, and it's what keeps my hair off my face and my neck. And it looks kind of ridiculous with a check shirt. It looks kind of ridiculous full stop, and this one doesn't give me a headache, so I guard it with my life. It's like a silk bamboo mix, so it's like really good for your hair. Anyway, that's not what I came to talk to you about. I'm doing everything in a weird order today. It's like literally 6 p.m. I'm not hungry because I had a late lunch, but the sun came out and I felt drawn to cooking and baking, which happens every single year. I'm ready for it. I wanted something sweet. I knew I had like a couple of extra days off. I said to Doug, what do you want? What would you eat? And he said I would be open to something mini egg based because tis the season. He said he would be open to a cornflake cake or a Rice Krispie cake. He also said he would be down for my apple crumble muffins. So naturally I'm doing none of that. I'm gonna do a loaf cake. I got a new loaf tin because I didn't actually have one. I got this loaf tin liner. This is so wasteful, but I hate getting the loaf out the tin. So this feels like really good. There's 20 of these in here as well, so they'll last me a really long time. I am making a brown butter chocolate chip crumb loaf cake. One thing about me, I love something with a crumb topping, which is why I like my apple crumble cakes. I will link the recipe. This is Well Made by Kylie. I'm not gonna lie, I don't usually like a TikTok recipe. I feel like a lot of them look good and taste like shit. But I like a Delia, I like a Mary Berry, I like a Nigella, I like BBC Good Food. I don't usually fuck with too many of these TikTok recipes because I think just so many of them just don't come out right. We're going to try this one out today. I saw it on TikTok. She has a website. She looks legit. I'm going to show you in stages. I'm doing the thing where I like haven't read the recipe all the way through. I'm just like looking at it step by step. Brown the butter. Perfect. And she's done gram conversions on her recipe. She already wins just for that. We're going to brown this butter, which means we're literally going to melt it down till it goes brown. I don't know why I'm explaining that. That's so obvious. 5 minutes or so. You'll know, medium heat. I forgot to get brown sugar, and that's what I need for the crumb topping, which is fine. It's a little annoying. So I'm gonna just carry on with the cake batter for now. That is hot, girl. What do I need? Baking powder, 7 grams, 1.5 teaspoons. anything. I'm really hoping I haven't burnt it. It might be burnt. It's best to do it in a light coloured pan so you can see the exact colour, but no, it's not burnt, that's fine. I feel like now is probably a good time to go get my brown sugar. Right, I'm back, and they didn't have like proper brown sugar, which is what I like, but they had Demerara and it was Billington, so I just got Demerara because Demerara is really nice in a crumble. I don't know if you can hear me, but it's quite crunchy. So I'm just going to make the crumb topping because that just goes in the fridge. It's really easy. So it's flour, cinnamon, granulated sugar, brown sugar, butter, 100 grams of chocolate chips. Let's do that then, babes, shall we? I'm making a mess already. How much butter did I say? You want to combine this until it resembles a crumb. And usually I would do this with my hands, but honestly I can't be bothered today and my nails are so long. If I can do it one-handed again. Yeah, no shell. Oh, that one's got shell. I do need to practice. Oh, no shell. I did it. I'm really proud of myself. This is definitely like a batter rather than like a cake mix. Does that make sense? Batter to me is very, very wet. So I've added 120 grams of Greek yogurt. I'm just about to add milk and I'm gonna get some vanilla extract. How much vanilla extract? 2 teaspoons. That should do. It says you can use any milk, so I'm using soy milk because that's what I've got. And then I'm just gonna whisk that up. I'm gonna add the wet into the dry, and it doesn't say to whisk it, so I'm just gonna mix it until it's combined because I don't want to over mix it. It just says mix until there's no more large lumps of flour, so I'm just gonna fold it in. I'm so excited about this. Probably should have whisked this because this is gonna hurt my arm. I feel like this is gonna taste really, really nice because you can really smell the brown butter. Gently. I will be not surprised at all if these all sink to the bottom. I know you're supposed to coat them in flour, but I've just never had a recipe where these don't sink. I wonder if this would be nice with like a blueberry. So like a brown butter blueberry crumble cake, you know, and you could make like a blueberry coulis, like jam swirl type thing. Do you know what I would really like to do? It feels like I'm being too confident in my abilities here because I'm very much like a home baker. Baking is not my strong point, but I find it like quite easy. I would really like to go on Bake Off. And I thought, you know what, if I practiced for like a year, 2 years, I reckon I could go on to Bake Off and do okay. Because the thing I don't know how to do is like, there's a lot of technical stuff in Bake Off. This is what it looks like. Let's show you properly. Gorgeous. She's weighty. It's just gone in. It's 10 to 7. That's gonna be my dinner probably. I did get a soup because I thought I just want something light, you know. I've put a timer on for 45 minutes. I'm gonna check it at 45 minutes because I might need to like foil tent the top just so the topping doesn't burn. I was right. It is it is overfilled because it's dripping. So luckily I just chucked this underneath it in enough time even. But yeah, that pan is not big enough. I think it must be something about like American loaf pan dimensions versus English ones, because yeah, that is just like steadfastly dripping. But that should be fine, I think, right? Oh wow. I put a question box up on Instagram for like bookish related questions just because I thought it might be quite nice to do like a little bit of a Q&A today. Just for like anything bookish related. I always feel like I randomly get a lot of bookish questions like across a lot of platforms. So I thought I could put them all in one place and answer a few. I'm not going to answer all of them because I just don't think I'll have time to. I really wasn't expecting to get so many, so thanks everyone. So I'll answer some that are like quite interesting or I haven't had before, or ones that a lot of people have asked me for. So I actually had a lot of questions about how to get out of reading slumps, or like what to do when you're in a reading slump, like just tips on how to get out of them. I really feel this. I slump quite quickly. I slump quite hard. That sounds really sad, but it's not as sad as it sounds. My biggest tip would be not to force yourself to read, and I think a lot of people force themselves to read, Acknowledging what you want at the time is really important. So if you're finding it hard to focus or you don't want to sit down and read, don't force yourself to, because it's inevitably only going to make you feel worse. Do not be scared to DNF books. A lot of my previous slumps came from forcing myself to persevere with a book that I really wanted to DNF, and this year and last year I've just gotten a lot better with recognizing that I'm not going to like a book, or that I don't want to continue it in the first 100 or so pages. When you were ready to venture back into reading again, I try to go with a short book or something familiar, like a familiar genre for me usually works quite well. I usually try just go back into romance, which I don't read that much anymore, but just something light and sweet usually helps. A little smut book, revisiting a familiar genre that is kind of like your palette cleanser genre. So whether that looks like thriller for you, whether that looks like horror for you, even rereading a book that you really like. And I think most importantly, giving yourself a bit of time. It's just a bit of like a cleanse on my brain. A question that I get a lot is, how do you find time to read as much as you do? The amount I read probably isn't realistic for most people. I read very, very fast. So in short snatches of time, I can get through a book quite quickly. I used to read on my lunch breaks at work. I don't so much anymore because I only get half an hour, but that's a really great way to do it. Or if you don't get sick reading on the commute, read on your commute. I get travel sick, so I can't read on the bus, which is so annoying. The honest answer is I just don't watch a lot of TV. When I do watch TV, it's usually like on my laptop, and when I'm cooking, I'll watch like Mad Men or something like that. But even then, that's often when I listen to audiobooks, but I'm off audiobooks at the moment. Say from around like 5-6 p.m, if I'm not editing, I'm reading. It's a very bad habit of mine. I read quite late into the night, so Doug will go to sleep and I'll usually read till like 12 or 1, which I'm getting better at. But yeah, most of my reading is done in the evenings after work. And then someone else asked, which kind of links into that, so how do I prioritize reading over sitting on my phone? Can't get off TikTok. I completely understand. I find that when I finish work, if the first thing I do is get stuck into my phone, I'm then stuck on my phone all evening. Whereas I have my phone on Do Not Disturb most evenings, which is quite antisocial of me. And I'd put it on charge and leave it in my bedroom. Or like, I put it in the room that I am not in if I don't need it, like for a recipe or something. Small and steady wins the race. If you feel like you're really sucked into your phone, no one's expecting you to cold turkey overnight. Like, it's as simple as when I get into bed to read in the evening, I do not disturb my phone and I don't bring my phone into bed with me. I put it on the dresser or out the way, so I have to get out of bed to do it. But it's a habit. Once I'd like built up that habit, it was easier. But some nights I do just like succumb to the doom scrolling. But usually I find like when I finish work or like when I settle in for the evening, I just don't bother sitting on my phone. Like if I don't start that habit, because once I do start that habit, like if I spend like 10 minutes just decompressing going on my phone, it's 2 hours later and I'm stuck scrolling. I'm just like not even doing it with any kind of intention. So yeah, I replace that with reading where I can. Some days better than others. I'm not like a paragon of virtue of being off my phone. Don't get twisted. Like what I do for a job, I'm on my phone so much, but I'm trying to lessen my screen time actually. I think my screen time's about 6 hours a day, which is a lot, but I want to get it under 5. What's a genre you don't like reading? I don't like thriller and I don't like crime. And I know I've just read a few thrillers and crimes, but I've just never really been that interested in them. I don't like feeling tense. I don't like being titillated. I don't find the subject matter particularly enthralling. I don't even like crime TV shows or anything like that. Like I've never watched the, like police shows and stuff like that. It's never really been a big thing for me. I don't know what the distinction is because I read a lot of horror and thriller obviously are 2 very different things, but I just find some of them really hard to stomach, especially like the violence against women. But then I'm not sure what that is because I read a lot of horror. Oh, who knows? I just don't find like the policing aspect of thriller and like the twisty nature of it, like it doesn't call to me at all. I have got a Richard Osman book which I want to read. I feel like that's slightly different. But like any kind of books, like the Frida McFadden books, like The Housemaid, Verity, The Boyfriend, all that kind of stuff just really doesn't appeal to me. How do you distinguish between what you read in physical Kindle and audiobook? And I really don't know how to explain it. I just have like an inherent knowing of what I'm going to read on what. Anything that is over like 400 pages, I try to read digitally. I read a lot faster on Kindle. From a sensory perspective, it's much more comfortable to me than reading like a physical book. book, which I know so many people much prefer physical books, something psychological about it for me, in that I read faster because I can't see how much of the book I have left. Also, Doug goes to bed a little bit earlier than me, and I usually stay up an hour after he goes to sleep reading, so I can't stay up with a physical book and do that. So I end up reading a lot on Kindle, and then I end up making slower progress in my physical book. Font size as I get older, font size and like the typeface and the spacing is a huge thing. Because the Kindle is so customizable and I have it a lot larger than I used to because I can't see, I find that's just my preference. Also, a lot of books I read on Kindle are not on my TBR. They're just books that I see that I just think, oh, that's on an offer, that's 99p, or that's on Kindle Unlimited, so I buy it. What you'll find is my physical TBR is books that I actually have been seeking out that I know I want to read, whereas my Kindle is usually just like random picks, and as a result, books that I don't end up really liking that much, or really long books. Someone asked if I have a Goodreads, and I'm really sorry, I don't. I used to. I just don't like Goodreads. I only have a story graph. Would I ever write a book? I would love to write a book. I have no idea what I would write a book about. I feel like it's very much in my life plan to write a book. My dad's an author. He's written like quite a lot of books. It's just something that I'm so confident that I know I'll do that it doesn't even worry me. That sounds so ridiculous, but like I know I'll write a book one day. I'm not even stressed about it. Will it be good? That's another thing. I don't know what it would be about. I don't think it would be fiction. But yeah, that's as much as I have for that right now. Did you like reading in childhood, or is it something you discovered in later years? I've always been like a voracious and avid reader. I grew up in a house of readers. My dad was like a massive reader. I grew up around walls and walls and walls of books, and as a result I think I just ended up picking up stuff. He read mainly non-fiction for his work. There was always copies of newspapers and magazines lying around. We had like a huge stack of New Scientist in the bathroom. Before I could really understand what I was reading the words. Does that make sense? Like, you know, when you're a kid and you just pick up anything and read it, and like they never policed me on what kind of books I read. Probably should have done a bit more, to be fair, but I would just read anything and everything. My favorite guilty pleasure read? Great question. Zodiac Academy. You can judge me all you want. They are some of the worst books I've ever read in my life. They are the equivalent to me of watching like really shit brain rot reality TV shows. They are not good, and do you know what? I've not read the most recent release. I waited for like a year for book 8 and I read it, and tell me why book 8 is like 900 pages. It's not that serious, and I read it and it was like one of the worst bits of writing and so disappointing that I just thought, like, I don't think I can do this anymore. My ideal reading environment? Great question. Do you know what? In bed. I like to say this firmly. I am most comfortable reading when I am like tucked up in bed. It doesn't matter the time. I will do it in like the middle of the day, tucked up in bed, really, really comfy, just with a cup of tea, like the back door open maybe, so it's like a bit cold, but I'm still warm and cozy, and silence, really. I can read if there's stuff on in the background, but like I'm not really that arsed about putting on like reading backgrounds and stuff and like ambient reading vibey things. I just will like rather be in bed. Honestly, 99% of the time, not even just reading, I just always rather be in bed, in pajamas, in like a hoodie and like trackies. That's like my dream scenario, with a cover. Even when I read on the sofa, I like to have a blanket. Do you prefer paperbacks or hardbacks? Paperbacks. I will not buy hardbacks. The only hardbacks I have are like gifts, presents that have come through for me, or like special editions. I'm looking at my hardbacks as I say that, and they're all mostly non-fiction or presents. There's so many good questions in here, and so many I can't answer. There's so many requests for recommendations that I'm tempted to like consolidate them into all one video. Like someone's asked for weird girl book recommendations, fast-paced book recommendations, horror book recommendations for fantasy readers who are new to the genre, a recommendation, one book for someone to get back into reading. Would you like all of these in one video? Because I think it will take me some time to like consolidate. Are there any genres or types of books you'd like to get more into? I would love to get more into classics, and I'm really struggling with classics. I've never read Pride and Prejudice. I've not read Jane Eyre. I would just like to do more classics like that. So I have Frankenstein, which I've read before and I've loved. I've read Dracula before and I've loved. I want to revisit that. I want to revisit Macbeth. I've also got Lady Chatterley's Lover, because I really want to read that. I've never read it. They deserve you to spend some time with them, you know, like they are not a one-hit wonder. I really want to start reading some Dostoevsky. I tried Crime and Punishment last year and I DNF'd it, my first kind of like big Russian lit, and it was very confusing to me and I just wasn't in the right headspace. But I think it's because reading is a muscle, right? Like you have to practice, and most people aren't reading Dostoevsky on like their first try. So yeah, any recommendations for like easy accessible classics to get me back into that journey and keep me engaged in that journey would be much appreciated. How much do you read in a week? Love your content. Thank you so much. I probably read like a book or two a week. This week I've obviously gone above and beyond because I'm reading short books, but yeah, about a book or two. I usually have one on the go on my Kindle and one physical. I usually read 2 books at the same time. It just keeps me engaged. Favorite snack or drink while reading? I like to have a little fruit plate or some biscuits. That's usually what I have in the evening. My sweet treat and tea TikTok combo thing that I'm doing, that's usually my reading time. I like a cold glass of squash or a cup of tea. That's like kind of my format. Something that's not really messy, so that I don't like muck up what I'm reading. Do I ever annotate or write quotes in books? I used to annotate a lot. I don't so much anymore. I find that I don't often revisit them enough, but I think if I go for a second read, I usually annotate or highlight. Some books that are non-fiction or hit really hard for me, I will annotate a lot. Let me show you. I've tabbed this book and I've written on the tabs. This is one of the most profound, moving books I've ever read in my life. This deeply resonated with me on such an intense level that I don't think I'll ever read it again. It like makes me actually like tear up just like thinking about reading it again. I've annotated this a lot. A couple of questions on how to choose what to read next, and just generally like deciding what to read because the overwhelm is quite high. I agree, I do get overwhelmed. Like I showed you earlier, that step, that's kind of got my next lot of books, so I usually just choose straight from there. One thing that really helps me is, especially if I'm reading digitally and I know that I'm kind of on the tail end of a book, I will always have another book like ready to go. I find sometimes the hardest thing when I finish at like 11 p.m. and I want to carry on reading, I spend like 20 minutes looking for a new book if I haven't got one, and then by the time I've chosen, downloaded and opened the first page, I just think I should go to bed. I try to add some variety in like genre and length of books. So like I've read a lot of these short books now, and I'll probably will have read another one by the end of the day, so I think I'm going to start on something long. I try like chop and change genre, and that also helps me stay out of a reading slump. Someone asked me what my top 3 tropes were, which I found really hard to think of, so I wrote them down, but there are some tropes within the trope. They said the more niche the better, and thank you for your lovely message as well. Okay, my favourite tropes generally, anti-hero. When I'm thinking anti-hero, I'm thinking the Poppy War, Blood over Brighthaven, Babel, Starve Acre, slight anti-hero. I love a book with trials and tribulations. And tribulations less so. I just like those words together. But a book with trials. And when I say trials, I don't mean like, oh, they're just having a bad time. I mean like Hunger Games. I mean like battle to the death in the arena. I mean, I want levels, I want games, I want televised stunts. I like this element of never knowing what's going to be contained in each level. I just read Phantasma, which I didn't love. What saved the book for me and what made me enjoy it so much more is that each trial was based on the 7 circles of hell, and like stuff like that is so intricate to me. So like Hunger Games obviously is a prime example of that. Phantasma has trials. Powerless is not a good book, but that has trials. That I just don't even recommend you read that, actually. There's so many books with like trials and competitions, I can't even think of them, but like that's one of my favorite ones, and unfortunately it's often poorly executed, but I find myself more forgiving to a bad book if it's got decent trials in it. And a sub trope that comes under that I love is like trainer and trainee. That shit makes me crazy. Like I love trainer trainee, not exclusive to that trope. And then I think my other third favorite one, these are just like the ones that I thought of off the top of my head. I'm sure there's so many that I'm missing. Academic rivalry. Love it. And do you know what's even better? If the academic rivalry borders on like an erotic hatred. That's so crazy, but like, you know, like when they hate each other so much that it's like almost a bit horny, but like they still hate each other, but it's like kind of sexy. I don't read a lot of academic rivalry books because I feel like it's overdone, and the ones that I do really like, I want to keep it like pure, you know? I don't binge on the things that I love the most for fear of ruining them. A special mention for academic rivalry is rivals to lovers. I don't need academic rivalry to end up in a love story, but rivals to lovers, better than enemies to lovers, because I just feel like enemies to lovers is oversaturated, overdone, and poorly executed in a lot of instances. If you give me a true enemies to lovers, like fine, but it's so rare these days. And then I also love, these are just honourable mentions, I love Fated Mates, but unfortunately I don't read that much anymore either because I don't read much fantasy anymore. Fated Mates, but like I need earth-shattering yearning. Like I need devastating. I don't need an easy Fated Mate. I need fated against all odds. And a very, very special mention to slow burn. I don't want like slow burn like they're giving it up in the first book. I need like slow burn across multiple books. I need a flash of ankle. I need slow burn in times of propriety. Do you set goals or do you just read as you please? I read as I please, and I have done that for the last 2 years and I could not be happier. I did 2 years of reading goals. I did 52 and then 75. I didn't hit my 75, and then ironically last year I had no reading goal and I hit 85 or something. And actually reading without a target makes me so much happier. I just pick up books when I feel like it and when I like it. And I was really interested to see last year about how that would evolve and what would happen. And I was really genuinely surprised when I ended up reading more. Someone asked me a really good question that I think is going to be my last. If I could live in the world of any book that you've read, what world would I live in? And it's probably because I've recently read it, but I would live in Orthos, which is from the Blood Grace series. I just love those fucking books so much. They are so cozy. Orthos is like vampiric as well, but it's like constantly cloaked in night, which actually is not my cup of tea. I'm a sun-core, sunshine, desert, climb kind of girl, but Orthos is like beautiful and warm and opulent and rich and full of stained glass and hot vampires. Like I would live there because it seems really cozy and you can eat there. Vampires can eat still. They just eat for pleasure. They shag all day. They eat lovely little pastries from the Empire. They just have hours to perfect their craft. Everyone's gorgeous. Everyone's really tall. It snows a lot, but you can garden. They keep you warm with furs. Sometimes when I'm trying to fall asleep at night, I think about falling asleep in Orthos under a big pile of furs. I need a book that's like got lots of escapism in it. Thanks to everyone that asked me so many questions. I really appreciate it. And I will try get to the actual recommendations in another video because that's actually a really good idea. I've been struggling for like video ideas. So perfect. It's come out the oven. There's a lot of like cake that's spilled over the sides. Ow, fucking hell, it's hot. Fuck me, that's fantastic. I can't believe I've just got to let that cool and just not pick it. Right, so my plan is I need a little bit of time off camera. I know that's kind of boring, but I filmed a lot longer today than I actually usually would. I've been filming from about 8 and it's like 8:30 now. So I'm gonna take some time to just settle in for the evening, tidy up the flat, and I'm gonna eat some dinner. I'm just gonna have soup because I want to save myself for this cake. I'm gonna check back in with you after because I'm gonna shower, take my makeup off, have some soup, cut up my sweet treat for the evening, film that, and then I'm gonna get into bed and read. And I'm not gonna be very long at all. You won't even know I'm gone. You won't even have time to miss me. But yeah, I thought that would be nice and just get settled into the next phase of my evening. Because I've been filming, I'm still wearing jeans. I feel like I haven't like transitioned into the evening yet. You know, so I'm gonna do that. And then yeah, I'll be back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. You won't even know I'm gone. I have, for my sweet treat, some sliced pears and that brown butter cake that I made. And I've got an Earl Grey tea. And I think it sounds absolutely amazing. The cake is still warm, so it kind of like fell apart, but it's quite almost salty because of the salted butter and probably because I didn't have fine salt. The slice I've cut myself is way too big as well. The brown butter like makes it really, really rich. It's really nice. Pear. I felt a pear was a perfect accompaniment for it, and Earl Grey just went perfectly. I had a really good batch of pears too. These are like some of the best pears I've ever tasted. Now I'm done stuffing my face. I didn't realise how tired I am. I feel like I can literally just fall asleep right now. I'm gonna give Mr. Salary by Sally Rooney a go. This has been recommended to me a few times. It's very, very short. It's only 32 pages, so I have no idea what it's about. I remember looking it up before, but now I can't remember. And then I think I'm gonna brush my teeth and go to bed after that. I'm gonna do that now. I'm gonna read. I'm gonna log off from you now. I'm so knackered. I'm not gonna come back online to review this after I've read this because I don't know if I'll make it through 30 pages. I might fall asleep. But I hope you enjoyed today's vlog. It was, again, something a little bit different. I don't do a lot of reading vlogs, but I do really enjoy them. It's just hard to set aside the time and a day solely dedicated to bookish stuff, isn't it? But I hope you've enjoyed it regardless, and I hope you enjoyed a little bit of the Q&A. Let me know if you'd like to see a little bit more of this kind of thing. I do really enjoy filming it. Reading is such a huge passion of mine, so it's really nice to share it with you, and I know This is like a happy medium for people that like my vlogs but maybe not necessarily super interested in reading. I upload every Sunday and I upload every other Wednesday, and all my socials are in the description box with updated links. Sorry, I realised some of the links were broken. So I've got the new link for Storygraph, the new link for my TikTok, etc. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will see you on the next video and have a lovely rest of your evening.